welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Emily, and today is a really exciting video because if you can't already tell by the title, I got my reversal done for my ileostomy bag. This is something that I was looking forward to for a really long time. But honestly, I didn't know if it really was going to happen for me and the time frame that it was going to happen. So I got my ileostomy bag placed August 14th of 2022, so just a few months ago, and they told me that I would likely have it for maybe 3 to 4 months. It could be anywhere up to 6 months, and I even had one doctor tell me it could be up to 9 months. Now this is if everything went smoothly with the bag, there were no complications, and so I was really hoping that everything would work out because having the bag was really hard on me, mentally, emotionally, physically, and I was able to figure out how to do it, but that doesn't change the fact that it was still really hard. I also know that there are people out there who may have ostomy bags that are permanent, and I admire those people so much. Everything that they've gone through, it just amazes me. If it's something that I had to do lifelong, of course I would have figured it out, and of course I would have done it, and I would have lived life with it and been okay with it. But with everything going on with my health, I am grateful that it was temporary, and I hope that I won't have to get it placed again in the future. Also, make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss any more of my story and things that go on in my day-to-day life. So I had my bag for a few months, and I had a follow-up visit scheduled with my surgeon for October 17th. At this visit, we were going to be doing a fluoroscopy, which is basically where they insert a tube into my stoma and they inject a dye. Then they're able to watch the dye on an x-ray screen to see where it's going, to see if there are any leaks in my intestines, just to make sure that everything was healed up from the previous surgery. The whole reason I was given the ileostomy bag is because I had been on steroids for a few months because of my Crohn's disease, and I really needed to give my intestines a break to heal fully because the steroids had kind of broken down my intestines a little bit, and it wouldn't have held the surgery if I had just had everything sewn up right away. So the bag was there to let things heal and to give my body a break from everything that it had gone through over the last couple of months. So I got in there for my fluoroscopy imaging appointment, and I honestly had no idea what to expect. I had done a lot of research about it. I talked to people who had had it done, and most people said it wasn't too bad. It was pretty quick. Let me tell you, it was honestly really tough for me. So I had a loop ileostomy, and so the way that it was, there were 2 holes going in. One hole went into my small intestine and the other went down into my large intestine, and they first put it into the wrong one and injected dye, which was already painful, but then they had to do it a second time to put it into the right area, and that was, it was rough. I was almost throwing up. I did not feel good. And I couldn't eat the whole night prior just to make sure that everything was emptied out of my intestines. So that was already rough, and then putting the tube in me just made me even more nauseous. But I survived. It did take a lot longer than they anticipated, and they had to get a second opinion from a couple other people. So I guess it was like a second and third opinion. But after looking at everything, they said that it looked good, and they sent me on my way to meet with my surgeon a few hours later. When I met with him, it was a super quick appointment. He said that everything looked good and that I could schedule my reversal. I was so excited. But I also didn't think that it was going to be for a while because he's a surgeon and he's a busy guy. Well, he looked at his schedule and he had an opening for 10 days later. 10 days! I was so excited, and I was telling my whole family. I was so ready for that day. Let me just tell you, the next 10 days went by like molasses. They were so slow because I was so anxious and so ready to have the bag gone. Right before my fluoroscopy appointment, I had been experiencing blowouts and leaks like no other. I just needed a change, and it would not come fast enough. Luckily, the surgery day finally came, and I was so ready. They wanted me to stop eating by midnight the night before, but just to make sure that everything was still cleared out and everything for the surgery, I decided to start eating liquids the day before, mostly like soups and stuff, and then I stopped eating around 3 o'clock the day before my surgery and just had water, and then stopped everything at midnight because I really wanted the surgery, and they said if I drank or ate anything after midnight that it would be canceled. I did not want that happening, so I stopped eating. They called me the day before to tell me what time I was going to be coming in, and I expected to come in maybe around like 10 or 11, and they called me saying that I needed to be there at 6 a.m. I live an hour away from the hospital, so that meant I had to get up at like 4 a.m. My husband was not very happy, to say the least. He's not much of a morning person, but we were willing to do it because This was my surgery. I've been looking forward to it, and we were willing to do whatever we needed to get to the hospital in time so that I could have the surgery. They then called me back and bumped it back about 30 to 40 minutes. So I did get to sleep in for maybe like 30 minutes longer, but we still had to get up at 4:15, and we were on the road by 5:30 so that we could get there around 6:30 to check in by 6:45. We got there, we got checked in, and I think that I waited in the lobby for maybe like 45 minutes before they called me back. They got me hooked up to an IV, and usually I don't have that much of an issue getting hooked up to IVs. In the past, they've been able to do it really quick. I've never really had any issues. So they put it in my left arm because that's usually where a really good vein is. And oh my gosh, it hurt so bad. I was in so much pain and finally just asked them to remove it. I did not think it was gonna work well, and I didn't want to be miserable for the next few days with this IV in my elbow. So they took it out, and they came back a few minutes later after putting a warm blanket on me to help trying to get some more blood flow going, and they were able to put one in my right hand. This time it did work, and it was still a little bit painful, but way less painful than the other one, and so I was ready to go. The surgeon came in, the anesthesiologist, the nurse, everyone who was going to be in the operating room came in, talked to me, prepped me for what I could expect, and they sent me off. My first surgery, I didn't remember anything going into the OR because they gave me some calming medicine, but this time they waited to give it to me until I was actually in the OR. I got to talk to some people in there, and then next thing I know, I was gone. I woke up in the post-op room, and there were a lot of other people in there as well, also recovering. I don't remember much from my first surgery going in the post-op room other than waking up, being really out of it, and then they took me to my family. Well, this time, I waited in there for a really long time. They didn't have any hospital rooms available, and so they just kept me in the post-op room just waiting. I think I was in there for maybe like an hour and a half, and the only thing I really remember is they asked me if I wanted to see my incision to see what it looked like without the ostomy. And so I said yes, but honestly it was a blur. I saw it, but I don't think I really processed what was going on other than it looked really gross. It was really red, and which that makes sense because I had just been cut into and sewn up. And finally they took me to a boarding room, so a room where I was waiting, and I could see my family and my husband. My mom and husband came with me, and that was really nice having their support there because I was really scared but also really excited to have it done. And it was just nice not being alone. So I finally got in there and got to see them. I finally started coming to more. I got some ice chips, I got some water. It was amazing. I got to look at my incision again, and I was, whoa, shocked. I'll post a picture here of what it looked like. If you get woozy by this stuff, skip over for the next 10 seconds or so. But this is what it looked like. So it looks really gross. My skin had been pretty irritated just from all the adhesive, and they really had to scrub to get it off. So that's why it's extra red in this. But they said it was normal. They said it would heal up nicely, and so I wasn't too concerned. But I got to order some food. I got to finally, after about 30 minutes of being in the boarding room, they took me up to my hospital room, and that's where I was going to be for the next couple of days. Honestly, my hospital stay was pretty uneventful. It was very different from the first one though, because a few hours after surgery, they had me up walking around the hospital. That did not happen after my first surgery. I think I was out of it for, well, the whole day that I got my first surgery, and the only time I got up was to go use the bathroom, but I had 4 people helping me that time. This time, I got up out of bed all by myself. I was walking around without a walker. I was doing amazing, and I was honestly really grateful because that meant that this recovery would be a lot easier. And I really needed a win because I had had a hard couple of months prior. They ended up keeping me for, I think, 2 nights, and then the 3rd day, I was able to go home. It was super fast process. I remember I woke up and I wanted to shower for the first time post-surgery, and so they came in and they were able to unhook my IV because I was going to be going home that day. And so I got to shower IV-free, which feels really nice because it was in my hand. It was really awkward. I couldn't do a whole lot with it. It was my right hand, and so it made eating a little bit harder because it's still just, it was pretty bruised, and it hurt a lot. I think I had a bruise for like 3 weeks after. It's finally gone now, so that feels good, but yeah. The whole time that I was in the shower, everyone came in. All my nurses, the surgeons, the discharge nurse, everyone came in saying that I was ready to go home. This process was so fast. At my first surgery, it took like 4 to 5 hours because apparently everyone was going home the same time I was. But this time I was at a different hospital further up from this one. They still work together, so it was my same surgeon. This time I was at the Huntsman Cancer Hospital, which is just above the University of Utah. But when I got out of the shower, they told me that I was ready to go, and I was so excited. I was able to pack up and go home and just recover there, because recovering at home is so much nicer than being in a hospital. I had done the majority of it there at the hospital, which was nice because if anything went wrong, I had my nurses there, I had my surgeon that I could ask questions if there were any concerns. But they kept coming in, checking out my scar. They said it was looking better, and I got to go home. Recovering at home was a lot easier than before. I was able to do things a lot faster. I did, however, the second day after getting home, I was having a lot of pain and having a harder time moving around. There was some stuff going on with my bladder that I didn't really know what was going on. The surgeon didn't really know either. He said it could just be my body just recouping and recovering from the surgery. But I had a hard time walking, and so I had to start using my walker again, which was hard because I really wanted to be independent and do things on my own, because I felt like it was, instead of 2 steps forward and 1 step back, it was like a step forward and 2 steps back. It was really, really tough emotionally, mentally, physically, but I knew that things would get better, and luckily I had my husband there helping me out. He would help me whenever I needed anything, and that was such a big blessing, because even though I was able to do things by myself, it still took a lot of time, walking around, getting places. And I'm also grateful that I had my puppy there as my emotional support animal. He really just lifted my spirits, and I'm really grateful for everything that I've been through over the last couple months. I know that sounds crazy, but I learned so much about myself personally and just life in general. I learned that when things are thrown your way, if you have a positive attitude going into it and understand that what the alternative could be. I could have died a few months ago had I not made it into the hospital and received the surgeries that I needed, but I didn't. I'm alive today because of it. And looking at life in that way, realizing that I'm in such a better place than I was, it made it so much easier going throughout each day. I learned that I can do hard things. We can all do hard things. We're not alone. Even though it may feel like it, things will be okay someday, even if that day's not today. And I know that this is not the end of my Crohn's journey. I know that I will likely need more surgeries in the future, because Crohn's is an autoimmune disorder that I'll have for the rest of my life. It'll never go away. But I am hopeful that I'll continue to learn to live with it, and I'll be okay, because even though life is hard, it's worth living. If you're going through something difficult, through something hard, it will be okay someday. And just know that you've got this. You are a warrior. You are amazing, and keep it up. If you haven't already, make sure that you go watch the rest of my story where I talk all about my Crohn's diagnosis, the different times that I was in the hospital for bowel obstructions, my first surgery, living life with an ostomy, because life was crazy and I was able to document it for you guys. So I hope that it can help some of you guys if you're going through something similar as well. I'm really so grateful for all of you guys. You are so amazing. Your kind words that you leave me really do uplift my spirits, and they have helped me throughout each step that I've gone through. They've helped me to know that I'm not alone in all of this, and that is such a comforting feeling. I just hope that I can be the same for you guys and helping you guys know that you're not alone, because we got this and we can do this together.